Hey, welcome to episode 7 of An Alcoholic Explains. An Alcoholic Explains, and today the topic is the role of genetics in alcohol addiction. My name is Waihiga M, and I'll be taking you through this topic. So, alcohol addiction is a complex condition influenced both by environmental genetical factors, while social, psychological, and cultural aspects are well recognized contributors. Recent research has increasingly focused on the biological mechanisms underpinning addiction, particularly genetics. The idea that genetics can play a pivotal role in predisposing individuals to alcohol addiction has gained significant traction in the scientific community. By understanding how genes influence susceptibility to alcohol dependence, we can develop better prevention, treatment, and intervention strategies. So today I'm going to delve into the role of genetics in alcohol addiction, explaining the key genes involved and the interplay between genetic predisposition and environmental factors. So the first thing is genetic predisposition to alcohol addiction. So studies indicate that account for about 40 to 60% of the risk for alcohol addiction. That is very high. This heritability factor is based on the observation that AUD tends to run in families. Children of alcohol-dependent parents are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol problems compared to those without such a family history. Twin and adoption studies further substantiate this by showing that even when raised in different environments, identical twins are more likely to share alcohol addiction tendencies than fraternal twins. Really interesting. The second thing is the key genes that are actually involved. There are numerous genes that have been identified as playing a role in alcohol addiction, most of which affect the brain's reward and pleasure centers. So for instance, there's the GABA2. So this gene affects the GABA receptors, which are crucial in regulating inhibitory neurotransmissions in the brain. Variations in the GABRA2 gene have been linked to a higher susceptibility to alcohol dependence. The other gene is ALDH2. This gene encodes for an enzyme responsible for breaking down alcohol in the liver. Individuals with certain variants of the ALDH2 gene experience unpleasant reactions when they consume alcohol, such as facial flushing, nausea, and increased heart rate. These individuals are less likely to adopt AUA. The next gene is ADH1B. This gene codes for alcohol dehydrogenase, an enzyme that helps metabolism alcohol. Specific variants of ADH1B are associated with faster alcohol metabolism, potentially reducing the risk of developing alcohol addiction by limiting exposure to alcohol psychoactive effects. The third factor, the gene-environment interaction. So while genetics play a significant role, it is the interaction between disposition and environmental factors that largely determine whether someone will develop alcohol addiction, so nature versus nurture. Environmental factors such as early exposure to alcohol, peer influence, and trauma can either exacerbate or mitigate the genetic risk. For instance, someone with a genetic predisposition to AUD or alcoholism may never develop it if they are raised in an environment that discourages alcohol use. Conversely, someone without a genetic risk may still become addicted due to environmental stresses. So the fourth point is epigenetics and alcohol addiction. Another layer of complexity comes from the field of epigenetics, which studies how environmental factors can alter gene expression. So scientific research suggests that chronic alcohol use can modify the expression of genes linked to addiction, creating a cycle of dependency. For example, long-term alcohol exposure can reduce the sensitivity of certain dopamine receptors in the brain, making it harder for the individual to feel pleasure without alcohol. And I can definitely attest to that. So I want to take you back here to the genes. And the first thing is the genetic predisposition to alcohol addiction. And this says that 40 to 60% of genetics, 40 to 60%. I mean, this determines if you have the risk for alcohol addiction. That is a huge, huge amount. I'm actually adopted. I was adopted into my family at a very young age, like when I was 6 weeks old. So I don't know my biological parents. And it's definitely something that I've struggled with. It's definitely something that I've had a hard time accepting, that I am adopted and that I don't know my biological mother, my biological father, and that I also don't understand the circumstances in which I came into this earth. It's definitely something that has bothered me. And I can see how that traumatized me, in the sense that I've always had this issue with abandonment. I've always had this issue with abandonment. Like, I remember at 12 years old thinking, if your own mother can give you up, if your own mother, the one who gave birth to you, can give you up to this really disgusting, disturbing, dark world, who do you ever think in this world is going to love you, Waihiga? But why I'm also talking about adoption is because genetically, I think that biologically my parents had a drinking problem. I truly believe that my parents were alcoholics, wherever they are, if they're still alive. For me, alcohol is just, it's that missing piece that was just missing until I discovered it at the age of 10. And nobody had to tell me how to drink. Nobody told me what to do, how to mix. It was just that missing piece. And it's almost as if it was in my blood. It's almost as if the alcohol knew what to do once it got inside this body of mine, once it inhibited this body of mine. I also think it's a spiritual thing. I probably came from a family that has done things and may have opened doors to the demonic world, that we have ties to addiction. We have ties to the world of alcoholism. Best believe alcoholism is not something that, you just wake up and you decide, I'm going to be an alcoholic. This is something that is spiritual, is physiological, obviously, as we are reading today, is physiological, obviously, as we are talking about in this episode today. So as much as it's physiological, which means it manifests itself in the body and biologically and in the genes, it also manifests itself in generations and in bloodlines. And it is sent down through generations. And that can only be something that's spiritual. I truly believe that. And in this bloodline, God has seen it fit for me to be the one who breaks this generational curse of alcoholism, suicide ideology, suicide attempts, the depression, and so much darkness, toxic relationships, domestic violence. the spirit of rejection and abandonment, lack of self-love, all those things. I feel like God has bestowed it upon me or chosen me for some reason to just be the person that breaks all of that from my bloodline going down. Break the cycle. Let's move on to talking to these other genes. My best subject in school was one of my best subjects in school was biology. Although I've never heard of these genes. So there's the GABRA2, so the GABA receptor, which is crucial in regulating inhibitory neurotransmitters in the brain. So GABA seems to have a higher susceptibility to alcohol dependence. That's really interesting. Another gene is ALDH2, which encodes for an enzyme responsible for breaking down alcohol in the liver. So a person with certain variants of this ALDH2 gene experience really bad reaction when they consume alcohol. So this person is probably a person that won't turn out to be an alcoholic, because when they take alcohol, it completely turns them off. They are very sensitive to alcohol. It causes them a physical reaction such as facial flushing, nausea, increased heart rate. And when this person ingests alcohol, they're like, you know what? I don't like this feeling. I don't even like the taste of this alcohol. I don't like the way it's making me wobbly. I don't like the way it's flushing my cheeks, or it's making me feel nauseated, or my heart rate is increasing. I don't like this feeling. I'm feeling like I'm out of control. So I'm just not going to drink. That's really interesting because, and I don't think I have this gene, because for me, when I take alcohol, I feel like I'm in control. When I take alcohol, I feel like I am sitting in the boss's chair. When I take alcohol, I feel like Waihiga, big Waihiga, is in town. You know what I'm saying? And I love the effects of alcohol. Well, in the beginning. Towards the end of my drinking, that was a very different story. But in the beginning, it did me very, very well. So people with this ALDH2 gene, the alcohol affects them in a very bad way. So they probably gonna stay away from alcohol. And then the people who have the ADH1B gene. So this is an enzyme that helps metabolize alcohol. So special variants of ADH1B are associated with faster alcohol metabolism, so potentially reducing the risk of development of alcohol addiction by limiting exposure to alcohol's psychoactive effects. This is actually really interesting because you find people who you drink with, you'll drink the same amount, or they will drink more than you, and the next day you'll still be trashed. You'll still be so trashed, and this person is like up, feeling good, and is ready to go on a 5-mile jog, and is able to like eat, and is able to just function. These people have the ADH1B gene, because this enzyme, it's able to metabolize alcohol. I don't have that one. I can tell you now for free. Alcohol stays in my system for a long time. I'm telling you, my hangovers used to be in the beginning, and because alcoholism is a progressive disease, it starts off with all fun and games. My hangover used to be like half a day. Then it becomes something that's 1 day. Then it became something that's 2 days long. By the end of my drinking career, my hangovers were about 4 to 5 days long. like of just sickness. I'm sick, I'm withdrawing, I'm going through withdrawal symptoms because I've had too much to drink, and because I'm withdrawing from that drink, and because I also haven't had another drink in me. So I was really sick. Like, it was actually really messed up because your body can't handle the amount of liquor that you've drank, but at the same time you need this liquor to continue. Like, my body became dependent on the liquor, so I also needed the liquor to continue, but I couldn't take it. I remember there was a time that I was so hungover, right? So hungover, and I had just enough energy to walk to the bar, which is minimal staggering distance from the house. And I got to the bar. It was a really hot day, and I sat there. And I waited, and eventually someone bought me a Guinness. And with both hands shaking, I started trying to drink this Guinness. I couldn't pick up this Guinness with one hand because I was shaking like a leaf. So I had to pick it up with both hands. And as I was trying to drink this Guinness, I just kept throwing up. Like, I had to go to the bathroom, throw up the first time. And then I came back. I drink a second gulp, throw up, third gulp, throw up. I mean, it went on and on. I finished the bottle, but I had to go and throw up. And basically what my body was saying is, what are you doing to us? What are you doing to us? And I was forcing issues because I was like, listen, the solution has always been alcohol. You have always wanted alcohol. You have always responded well to alcohol. So I don't understand why you're throwing up a whole bottle of Guinness. You're going to power through this bottle and you're going to take it like a G. And so I threw up the whole first bottle. And once the throwing up was over and I got through to the other side, I was able to drink the second bottle. Now, because I spiked it with vodka. So it was able to go down much easier. And then I was able to, so it had the beer and then it had the vodka. And at least the vodka got in the system. So I was able to at least take the edge off the hangover, right? And then I could let loose. And then I started feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling okay now. But I was so nauseated and so sick and sweating and night terrors and oh my gosh, like the feeling of withdrawing from alcohol is just horrific. And that is the struggle. That is the struggle. And never did it occur to me when I'm sitting at this bar, going to the bathroom about 12 to 15 times, throwing up because of alcohol. Never am I thinking, oh my gosh, the problem is the alcohol. I'm just thinking we need to power through the first bottle and get through to the other side. So I was always interested. I think men also seem to have this ADH1B genetic code, because as a woman, I don't think we have genes that metabolize alcohol very quickly. Well, I'll speak for this woman. My body does not metabolize alcohol very fast. Maybe it did in the beginning and I had a very high tolerance and all that's good stuff. But towards the end of my drinking, alcohol stayed in my system for a really long time. And its effects were very evident. If I take a drink, you can immediately see it. My eyes become shiny and glossy. My personality immediately changes. Like immediately. Like when I'm sober, I'm a very responsible, somber, chilled, to myself kind of introverted person. When I drink, I am bubbly, over the top, on top of bar counters type of person. And I'm very sensitive to alcohol. I also want to quickly talk about this gene environment interaction. So this whole nurture versus nature, what came first or what affects what more. So definitely environmental factors such as early exposure to alcohol. Yes, there was alcohol in the house growing up, but my parents also don't drink. So I can't blame them at all. At all. It's just something that I found, and I mean, it's not like I was a normal kid. Other kids were not looking for alcohol to drink around the house, but I was. Peer influence, I can say that I was the ringleader. When it came to me and my friends in terms of drinking, I was the peer influence. Like, I was very excited about alcohol. I would say I was one of the instigators. I would say I was one of the people that introduced people to drinking. I was very excited about drinking, and drinking was my thing. Everybody had their thing. People had dancing, so drinking was my thing, drama was my thing. But drinking and drama was my thing, the double D. Yeah. And I was certainly that influence. I'm not going to lie to you and be like, no, I was influenced. Oh my gosh. No, I was doing the influencing for sure. And definitely trauma. I mean, if you're a human being in this world, you have certainly experienced trauma. Big or small, you have certainly experienced trauma. And I have had my share of trauma and mix it all up together, and that's how I became an alcoholic, I guess. And then, so this part that talks about that chronic alcohol use can modify the expression of genes linked to addiction, creating a cycle of dependency. I mean, of course, the longer you drink, the more dependent you get on it, and the harder it is to quit. I've had many people try to shame me into getting sober or controlling my drinking because for them, they were able to control their drinking. I don't know if these people turned out to be alcoholics at this point, later on. But I know at the time, they would kind of look at me and be like, this is how you need to drink. This is how you need to handle your liquor. Not understanding that I'm an alcoholic. And I'm not someone who should be handling liquor, should be asked to handle liquor. Like, the game is already rigged to begin with. I shouldn't even be on that playing field. Like, it's like, why get in the ring to begin with? Why am I going to go fight this thing over and over? This wrestling machine called alcoholism and the drink that is going to beat me up black and blue each and every single time I get back in the ring. And getting back in the ring is listening to normal people who can drink and leave the drink and say things like, oh, Waihiga, you just need to drink like a lady. Oh, Waihiga, you're just so lazy and irresponsible. You need to learn how to just take one and then go home. Oh, Waihiga, you need to learn how to be responsible. Oh, Waihiga, I will teach you how to drink. I certainly don't need to be taught how to drink, and I will gladly bow out of any such conversation. Yes. So, Genetics play a crucial role in shaping the likelihood of developing alcohol addiction, with numerous genes implicating and influencing how individuals metabolize alcohol and respond to its effects. However, genetics alone does not determine one's fate. Environmental influences and lifestyle choices interact with genetic predispositions, making alcohol addiction a multifaceted condition. Understanding the genetic basis of alcohol addiction not only offers insight into why some individuals are more vulnerable, but also provides pathways for more targeted therapies and interventions. By acknowledging both the biological and environmental aspects of alcohol addiction, society can approach prevention and treatment in a more comprehensive and effective manner, and certainly a non-judgmental manner. So please let me know down in the comment section, your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think that genes actually play a role in alcoholism and addiction, or do you think like this is a cop-out, like I'm just coming up with excuses as to why I'm an alcoholic and people are alcoholics, and I'm just using science and religion and spirituality to make a very to rationalize or legitimize what alcoholism is? Do you think alcoholism is a choice? Or do you think it's actually like a serious thing that we struggle with? So let me know in the comments down below. I'm really interested in knowing what you have to say. Until the next episode, goodbye, guys.